Today, we're diving into one of the darkest times in human history. The Black Death, also known as the Great Plague, the Great Mortality, or simply the Plague. This pandemic swept through Europe in the 14th century, killing an estimated 75 to 200 million people. That's as if the population of modern-day Germany just vanished. Poof! But what exactly caused the Black Death to be so deadly? Was it poor hygiene, lack of medical knowledge, or did someone just forget to wash their hands after sneezing? Spoiler alert. It's a bit of all the above. The primary culprit behind the Black Death was a bacterium called Yersinia pestis. Sounds like a fancy name for an evil sorcerer, right? This tiny bacterium was anything but magical. Yersinia pestis is transmitted through fleas that live on black rats. And let's be real, rats were basically the medieval version of Wi-Fi. They were everywhere. Ships, homes, streets, you name it. If you saw a rat, you were basically seeing a little plague taxi. The plague spread rapidly through Europe, Asia, and North Africa. It followed the trade routes like an overeager tourist. Ships carrying goods also carried rats, and those rats carried fleas, and those fleas carried Yersinia pestis. It was the ultimate relay race of doom. Imagine a toy ship is a real medieval ship. Now add some rats and voila, you have a floating death trap. The Black Death didn't just hitch a ride on ships, it traveled by land too. Once infected fleas bit humans, the bacteria entered the bloodstream, leading to swollen lymph nodes, fever, chills, and in many cases, death within a few days. Talk about a fast-acting formula. There were actually 3 types of plague caused by Yersinia pestis: bubonic, pneumonic, and septicemic. Each one is more delightful than the last. Bubonic plague was the most common. It caused those famous swollen lymph nodes, or buboes, which could grow to the size of an egg. And not the cute Easter kind, but more like the oh my god, what is that kind? Pneumonic plague affected the lungs and could be spread through airborne droplets when an infected person coughed or sneezed. Yes, the medieval version of cover your mouth when you sneeze was just as important, if not more. The septicemic plague was the rarest but deadliest form, infecting the blood directly. It could cause skin and other tissues to turn black and die, hence the name Black Death. And you thought your Monday mornings were rough. One major reason the Black Death was so deadly was the lack of medical knowledge. Medieval doctors didn't understand germs or bacteria. Their treatments ranged from the useless to the downright bizarre. This is the original essential oils will cure everything movement. Spoiler alert. It didn't work. They wore these creepy bird masks filled with aromatic herbs, believing it would protect them from the disease. Treatments included bloodletting, boil lancing, and even using frogs and leeches to draw out the poison. If you think going to the doctor today is scary, imagine having your boils lanced by someone in a bird mask. Yikes. Another reason the plague spread so rapidly was the living conditions and hygiene, or lack thereof. Medieval towns were crowded, dirty, and ripe for disease. Imagine everyone living in one big frat house, but with more dirt and fewer kegs. People lived in close quarters with their livestock. Garbage was often thrown into the streets, and clean water was a luxury. Rats thrived in this environment, making it the perfect breeding ground for the plague. The Black Death didn't just cause physical devastation, it also had massive social and economic impacts. The high mortality rate led to labor shortages, which in turn caused a shift in the feudal system. Peasants began demanding higher wages and better working conditions. Talk about a literal deathly strike. The plague also caused a breakdown in social order. With so many deaths, people became more religious, superstitious, or downright paranoid. Flagellants, for example, were groups who traveled around whipping themselves to atone for humanity's sins, hoping to ward off the plague. It's like extreme medieval CrossFit, but with less fitness and more blood. Some towns even blamed marginalized groups, leading to horrific acts of violence. It was a time when fear and ignorance often turned deadly, much like reading the comments section on a controversial Facebook post. Here are some jaw-dropping facts about the Black Death. Speedy spread. The Black Death spread faster than a viral cat video. In just 4 years, it wiped out about 60% of Europe's population. Mass graves. With so many deaths, traditional burials couldn't keep up. Mass graves became common, and in some places, bodies were simply piled up and covered with dirt. Impact on art and culture. The plague influenced art, literature, and even nursery rhymes. Ring a Ring o' Roses is often said to be about the symptoms of the plague: economic upheaval. The high death toll caused a labor shortage, which improved the economic conditions for the surviving peasants and led to the decline of the feudal system. Long-term effects. The Black Death reshaped the course of European history, leading to significant social, economic, and cultural changes that laid the groundwork for the Renaissance. So, how did the Black Death finally end? Well, it didn't disappear overnight. The plague receded as populations diminished, and those who survived developed immunity. Additionally, some public health measures like quarantines and improved sanitation began to be implemented. The term quarantine actually comes from this period. Ships suspected of carrying the plague were isolated for 40 days, or 40 giorni in Italian. It was the medieval version of stay at home and binge-watch Netflix. The Black Death taught us a lot about disease spread, public health, and the importance of scientific understanding. Today, we have vaccines, antibiotics, and advanced medical knowledge that can help prevent such pandemics. But it's always good to remember how far we've come and to appreciate the importance of washing our hands. Thanks for joining us on this journey through one of the darkest times in history. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe for more fascinating and sometimes bizarre history lessons. And remember, history has a lot to teach us, even if sometimes it feels like a horror movie marathon. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you next time.